In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a new project using a Zapier integration. To demonstrate this, I'm going to connect a Slack account to ProcessKit so that every time I post a new message to a specific channel in Slack, that message text will become the title of a new project in ProcessKit, and it will kick things off for the team in ProcessKit. And by the way, Slack is just an example. You can use any of like 1,000 or so different apps that are in Zapier. So this is just an example of one popular app that you can use to send things in and then go do stuff in ProcessKit. So I'm using Slack in this example. So I have already connected my ProcessKit account and my Slack account to my Zapier account. Now in Zapier, I'm going to create a new Zap. I'll click Make a Zap. And again, I want a message in Slack to be the trigger for this Zap. So I'm selecting Slack. I'm going to select when a new message is posted to a channel. I'm going to select my Slack account that I have connected. And now I'm going to select that specific channel. In this case, I have a channel called Example. Now it's going to look for test data. Let's go ahead and make that test data now. So I'm going to do that by actually posting to the channel in Slack. So let's call this test project. That's the message that I'm posting into this Slack channel. And now that I've posted that, we can click test and review, and it should find that message. And you can see test project. That's the message that I just sent in. Okay. So I've got that test data all set, and let's go ahead and create the second step. And in this step, we're going to use ProcessKit. Again, I've already connected my ProcessKit account, and I'm going to want to create a project in ProcessKit. Let's select my ProcessKit account. And from this accounts dropdown, you might own multiple ProcessKit accounts, so you'll want to select the one that you're working with. And now we need to select a project type for this project. Now in this first example, let's just go with my simple default project type, which is called project. And I'm going to show you one more example after this where we use a different project type that will load in other things on the ProcessKit side. But for now, let's just go with a simple project type called project. This one doesn't have any preloaded processes or fields or anything like that. And the project title lets use the message that I had posted into Slack. Again, this might be some other app that you're using, but you can get the text that comes out as the output from the previous step and use that text as the title for the project. Now the rest of these fields are optional. You can leave these blank, or you can add additional information here. So let's just, as an example, this is the description for the project, and let's see if we get any other data from that. And yeah, let's post the permalink. So this was the Slack link. So just in case you want to have that available, you can drop that right in there. Let's give this project a start date, and Zapier is kind of cool because you can use plain text here. So I'm going to say today at noon, and what that means is today would be the day that every time that this Zap runs, it's going to get the today's date and time at noon. End date, we can say tomorrow at 8 p.m. And Zapier will automatically convert that text into a date time timestamp that then gets saved in ProcessKit. All right, so let's continue with that. And so now we can go ahead and complete the test on this one. So we're going to click test and continue. And just the act of testing this should create that project in ProcessKit. So I'm going to refresh ProcessKit. And here it is. You can see the project that was created, test project. And it gave it that title. It put in that description, dropped the link in there, and it automatically set the start date and the due date for the project. Pretty cool. Now the final step here is to turn this Zap on. That's very important. You want to make sure that you see that green on indicator. And so now, and we'll probably want to give this a title. create a new project from a Slack message. And so now let's actually go ahead and test this out in the wild. So let's go ahead and create a new project. We'll just call this one test project 2. Now, something to keep in mind, if you use the text of a project that already exists, like if I were to just put in test project here, we already have a project in ProcessKit that is called test project. And so that will fail because in ProcessKit, you can't have two projects that use the same title. So it's very important that even when you're just doing a test in Zapier, you still need to make sure that every time you send a zap into ProcessKit, the project title has to be unique. So in this case, let's do test project 2. Of course, that can be anything, but let's just do that. So I just posted this as another message into that Slack channel. And this is an instant zap, which means it should run immediately. Let's see if it did. I'll go back to my projects list. And there it is. It actually did run instantly. Now, not all zaps run instantly. They only run instantly if you see that instant tag there. If you don't see that, then what you can do is just pull this down and there would be a button that says run here, and you could just click that to manually cause the zap to run. Otherwise, again, if it's not instant, it would run every 5 minutes, I believe. So in ProcessKit, that one did run instantly, and it did create a second project. And again, it's got all the things that we need in there. So pretty cool. Now, let me show you one more example on this. This is a little bit more advanced, but this is a recommended way to use this feature. I'm going to create another project using Zapier, but this time I'm going to set up the Zap to use one of my other project types. Let's use the new client onboarding project type. And before I do that, I'm going to look at its settings. And in this project type, I added preloaded processes, 2 of them, and a preloaded custom field called region. So now those things should be automatically preloaded when we create the new project using that type. So let's go ahead and edit this zap. I'm going to turn it off. And when we edit a new zap, we need to go back to the very first trigger and get new data. So before we do that, let's put in some new data, because again, we can't use the same data that was already created because it would use a project title that already exists. Another way to do this would be to simply go into ProcessKit and delete the project that was already created, and then you can use the same data. But in this case, let's go ahead and do test with a different project type. That's actually going to become the title of the project. So we're going to click Get More Samples, and it's probably the most recent one. And yes, that's the one, test with a different project type. You need to select that button to make sure that that's the one that we'll use. And now let's go into this step, the create a project step. And this time, let's choose a different project type. Let's go with that new client onboarding project type. And everything else should be the same, but sometimes, Zapier can be a little bit finicky, so you might want to just go in and reset these fields. So I'm going to get the text from that test data, and I'll do the same thing with the permalink. This tends to happen when you are editing an existing Zap. You need to kind of go in and reset those. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's just what I found. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and complete that test. It should create the project in ProcessKit. I'm going to reload the page here. And here is that new project, this time using that text. And you'll see it has a different project type, new client onboarding. And if I go into that project, if we go over to tasks, you can see that the new client onboarding project type automatically preloaded our onboarding process, which And that process includes all of these people assignments, and it has some details in there and all sorts of stuff. So that's pretty cool. It actually has two processes, or it converted those into two task lists because those were preloaded on the project type. And if we go back into details, it not only has the default fields, but it also has this custom field called region, which we had previously created, and again, also set that as a preloaded field on the project type for new client onboarding. So that's a pretty powerful way of how you can create projects automatically using Zapier.